Hello everyone, happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Gersa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. And today I am so excited to share with you 3 fabulous projects made with the Cottage Wreaths bundle from the Stampin' Up! July-December mini catalog. Now, today is a big day in Stampin' Up! Land because 2 big promotions are happening on the same day. First of all, a flash sale, free shipping on orders of $100 or more Canadian, and that's your product total, not including HST or tax, today only. So you have to place your order by midnight Mountain Time, which here in the Eastern Time Zone is like 1:59 a.m. tomorrow, if you really want to think about it. But have your order in by midnight our time, just to make sure that you don't miss out. So this promotion is just one day. It's a flash sale, 24 hours only, started last night and runs until tonight. So if you have a wish list, and who doesn't, let's be honest, this is the time to place your order. Now, if you have an order that's less than $100 and you still want to be able to take advantage of the shipping, the free shipping, and you're local to Cambridge, send me your order and I will put it through as a part of a group order this evening, and everybody who's part of the group order will get free shipping. The only catch is that you'll have to pick it up from my porch. So who's excited about free shipping? I sure am. I have a rather large order ready to go. As soon as I'm done dinner tonight, I'm going to sit down and put it through and take advantage of free shipping, because why not, right? So the other big promotion that starts today is the Starter Kit Plus promotion. So if you have kind of been on the fence or toyed with the idea of thinking about maybe signing up to be a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, whether it's to be part of my fabulous Stamping Symphony community or just to get a discount on your Stampin' Up! Products, or both, or you want to start a business, I am here to help you. And this month is the month to take advantage of the Starter Kit Plus promotion. So this month, you get $206 worth of products of your choice in your demonstrator starter kit for just $135 all in. There's no shipping charge, so it's free shipping on the starter kit no matter when in October you ordered it. And in most provinces here in Canada, there's no tax as well. So it's $135 shipped to your door, done, which is an amazing deal. There's no better deal in the catalog. So if you are thinking about it, I would love to chat more with you. I will post a link in the video description after I'm done that will take you to a Q&A that has more information on becoming a demonstrator and what it's all about, and whether or not you can just do it for the discount. The answer is you can. So I would love to chat with you about it and help you take advantage of this fabulous promotion. Now that one runs all the way through to the end of October, so you don't have to take advantage today. But it certainly would be a good time to do it, because why not? Right? All right. So let's talk about the Cottage Wreaths bundle. It is a fabulous bundle from the Holiday Mini. And I, believe it or not, just inked it up over the weekend. I have been so busy, I haven't had a chance to really play with it. So this weekend, I finally was able to pull it out and give it some love. And it's so fun. I love the size of the wreaths in this stamp set and in the dies. They're a little bit smaller scale than some of the other wreath dies and stamps that we have. So they don't take up quite so much real estate on your card, so you can do other things. And I love that. So I'm going to show you the bundle. I'm going to demonstrate 3 projects for you, and we'll have some fun. Sound good? All right, let's pull up my video here on my iPad so I can see who's joining me. Wow, I look tired. I got bags under my eyes. We're only a month into the school year and I look like it's June. All right. Hi, Sonia. Hi, Doris. Thanks for sharing, Sonia. Hi, Julie. Hi, Laura. Hi, Deb. Hi, Jill. Hi, Joyce. Welcome, ladies. All right, so I'm going to flip the camera. I'm going to stop yakking at you, and we are going to get down to business, okay? So let's do the flipperoo here. There we go. That looks pretty good. Okay. Jill, you can come and hang out with me anytime. You're good for my ego. All right, so here is the Cottage Wreaths bundle. So, of course, we have a fabulous stamp set. It is a photopolymer stamp set, which makes it great for easy positioning, and you'll see that in just a minute on our first card. We have 2 different wreath stamps, which can be used independently or layered. They actually look pretty fantastic layered. We have this extra little foliage stamp, which adds some fullness to our wreath. And then we have all sorts of itty bitty stamps that can decorate and add interest to our wreath, as well as some awesome sentiments. So that's our stamp set. And then of course we have our dies. So we have 4 different wreath dies. These 2 open dies cut out the stamped image. And then we have 2 sort of detailed wreath dies that actually layer. You're going to see that on the first card as well. We've got some extra little sprigs to add to our wreaths, and then all sorts of open dies that coordinate with all these itty bitty stamps. So lots and lots of dies in this set. Awesome bundle, lots of possibilities. So let's get to it. Hi, Gail. Welcome. So the first card we're going to do is this one. I posted this earlier today. You may have missed it because I don't know about you, but the free shipping promotion is all over my Instagram feed. That's all I'm seeing. So many posts about the free shipping deal. So in case you hadn't heard, we have free shipping today. So here is this really simple card, and it uses a technique I really like to do called faux embossing. So this background looks like it's embossed. It's got a raised image, but it's actually just die cuts that are layered in the same background color, in this case white. So this works with any color, and it's just a really cool effect that gives the impression of embossing without actually needing an embossing folder. And it's a great way to get more mileage from your dies. Okay, so let me show you how to do that. I have all sorts of die cut wreaths here. Some are full wreaths, some are partial wreaths, because I didn't want to waste my sheet of cardstock with adhesive sheets on the back. Now with this particular die cut, you are going to want to use adhesive sheets, especially if you're doing this technique. Makes it much quicker and easier. So I'm starting with a piece of basic white cardstock. It's 4 by 5¼ inches. And we're just going to start layering these die cut wreaths onto our cardstock here. So as I said, I've got adhesive sheets on the back. So, oops, let's get our pointy end on our take your pick, and we are going to use that to help us peel all these backings off. Because I have no nails left. I've been doing a lot of cleaning. I don't know about you, fellow Canadians. We have Thanksgiving this weekend, and I am hosting our entire family, and I mean entire, both sides, my side and my husband's side, for Thanksgiving dinner on Sunday. So, you know, I didn't have anything else to do, so why not host a crazy huge dinner? So I've been doing tons of cleaning, tons of cooking and prep work, getting ready for the big day on Sunday. So we also have my parents coming to stay with us. They have not been down from Northern Ontario in over 2 years, thanks to COVID. So yeah, busy, busy, busy. So my hands look horrible. I skinned my knuckle yesterday. Yeah, so I apologize that I don't have a beautiful manicure and my hands look horrible, but that's just because I've been working really hard getting everything ready for Thanksgiving. So all I'm doing is just layering these little die cuts. As you can see, the adhesive sheets make it way quicker and easier to layer these. If you were having to apply liquid glues to all these die cuts, it would take a really long time. So keep it easy, keep it simple, and just use the adhesive sheets and it makes it come together really quickly. So I'm just peeling my backings off. Of course, this one doesn't want to come off. There we go. Hi, Pam. Hi, Cheryl. Oh, Julie, you've already put your order in. Good for you. I hope you got some good stuff. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm probably not going to need that last wreath. Actually, we will need it for our focal image. So I have all these little wreaths hanging off my edge here. So what I'm going to do then is bring in my snips and cut off all the bits. So we're just going to take and trim using the edge of the cardstock as a guide. We're just going to trim all these pieces off, all this excess. Now, if this were a full wreath, I certainly could use that. I can use these little bits, so I will save them for something else. I always like to stick them just onto the shelf near my desk. And then when I want to use them, they're just kind of stuck there and I'm good to go. I have little odds, bits and bobs stuck all over the place in my studio. My husband comes in, he's like, what is all of this? He just doesn't understand. He's not a crafter. All right, a couple more snips to make here, and we are good. Thanks for sharing, Pam. I so appreciate it. Let's make sure that one's stuck down. And we'll cut that guy off. And a couple more little snippy snippies. There we go. I'm gonna have all these little bits on here, and then I'm not gonna be able to stamp. So we gotta make sure we get all those little bits off as well. One more snip and we are good. Okay, so there is my faux embossed background. Isn't that a cool technique? Really, really simple, but a great way, as I said, to get more mileage out of your dies, right? So turn your dies into an embossing tool. There you go, okay? All right, now on this, we are going to layer a strip of DSP. So this is actually from the host set, the Designer Daydream set in the annual catalog. You can tell on the back, there's that beautiful blackberry. But this has this Blushing Bride sort of grid pattern. I'm actually going to turn this way. I think I want to see a little bit more of that wreath peeking out the bottom. So this is cut to what, 1.5 by 4. So we're going to go ahead and stick that down. So we'll just stick this down, I don't know, but 1/3 of the way down. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 1.25 inches down from the top. That's what I'm doing. Thank goodness for grid paper. I would be lost without it. And then we are actually, you know what? I should not have stuck that down. Oh well, we're going to try and stamp. I forgot to stamp on it first. This is what happens. I get talking and I forget what I'm doing. All right, we are going to do our very best to stamp our Merry Christmas centered on this, even with that little bit of embossing in the background. We'll see how this goes. So this Merry Christmas stamp is from the Cottage Wreaths stamp set. So I'm going to ink this up in a little bit of smoky slate. And I'm going to pull this closer to me so I can actually see what I'm doing. And we're going to attempt to stamp this. Oh, that actually went better than I expected. There we go. Whew, that was close. All right, now we can go ahead and layer this onto a piece of soft seafoam cardstock, 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So we're just going to have a narrow little border all the way around. So we'll go ahead and add our adhesive and pop this on. I love sort of mixing up the color palette for Christmas cards. It's still red and green, but instead of, you know, your traditional deep red and deep green, we've got our soft seafoam and Blushing Bride. Okay, so here are the 2 detailed wreath die cuts. So this one actually you can kind of fluff it up. So you can just take your thumbnail or your bone folder or whatever and kind of bend up these little leaves on your wreath to give it a little bit more dimension and fullness. So you just kind of take, and of course I have no thumbnail right now, but we can just take and bend those up as best we can without a thumbnail. I could also use my take your pick, but there we go. That gives you an idea. The inside one's also fluff, but I'm not going to worry about that because we're going to be layering this over top. Okay. So I, again, have adhesive sheets on the back of my white one here. So we're going to go ahead and peel off our backing. Carefully, because this is getting cut. There we go. And then we're going to layer that onto our seafoam wreath. So we'll just press that into place, and it's got some nice fullness. You can see it's got a little bit of dimension. Okay, and then that is going to get centered over our stamped sentiment. Okay, so we're going to add a couple of mini dimensionals to the back of our wreath. Minis are the only ones that will fit. You don't want to use full-size ones because they will show. So we'll just put probably 4 or 5 of these around. And one more, maybe we'll do 6. Just to be even. And we'll get rid of our backings with our non-existent thumbnail. You know, when you usually have a nail and suddenly you don't, it really becomes a handicap. I gotta say. Your thumbnail is your best crafting tool. So we're just going to go ahead and center our wreath around our sentiment there. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and glue this onto our card base, and then we're going to decorate our wreath. So I have here a thick basic white card base, 4 1/4 by 11 inches. It's scored in the middle at 5 1/2. So we'll fold that in half along our score line. Twist that up. Add a little bit of adhesive to the back of our panel. And we're going to pop that on. And again, we'll have just a narrow little border peeking out. Okay, so there is most of our card. Now we're going to stamp our bow. So I've already gone ahead and die cut this. Now typically when you are stamping and die cutting, you would stamp first and then die cut. Okay, but I didn't want to pull my machine out for the video. So we are just, I pre-cut this and we are going to stamp. Now one of the advantages again of photopolymer is that it's easy to see where you're stamping. So I'm going to ink this up in some Blushing Bride ink. I'm going to pull this a little bit closer to me so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm just going, I need a darker surface because I can't see what I'm doing. Let's grab, what do we got? Here, we'll use this black card base for one of the other cards. That will make it easier to see, much, much easier, probably easier for you guys to see on the video too. So we're just going to go ahead and center that and stamp. And there we go. Wasn't that easy to line up? Much easier when I have a dark background. All right, so there is our bow. We're gonna add a little bit of blingy with a bit of winky winky. So we'll add a little Wink of Stella here, just to bling that up just a bit. It also is gonna blend that ink a little bit as well. And then I'm going to add another mini dimensional. Actually, I might add a couple of mini dimensionals to the back of my bow. And we're gonna add that to our wreath. Just like that. Okay, and then we're going to add some sparkle. I used some silver pearls from the Festive Pearls pack. And I like grouping my pearls in threes when I'm adding them to a wreath. I just feel like they look like a little grouping of holly berries. So I'm just adding some of these little bitty silver pearls to add some little berries to my wreath. And one more bunch up here, I think. And we should be good. There we go. Isn't that cute? So fun, so easy, really quick and simple. If you die cut a whole bunch of these little wreath die cuts with some adhesive sheets, you can make a bunch of these cards in a hurry. Okay, so that's number one. Super simple, but a pretty sort of non-traditional take on a Christmas card. So let's get this out of the way. We're going to bring in number two. So number two is a fun fold card that I posted yesterday. It's this one. So this is a faux step card. You've probably seen them all over the place. I did a video on these a while back, like a couple of years ago. But I always like to pull out this design every once in a while because I really feel like it's an easy one, especially if you are relatively new to stamping and newer to fun folds. It's an easy one to make, nothing super complicated, just straight up cutting and a little bit of scoring. And but it still has that wow factor, and I love the way that this pops out like it's a wreath hanging on a door. It almost reminds me of my front door. So I'm going to show you how I put that one together. So to build our base, we need 2 pieces of cardstock. Okay, I'm using Crumb Cake. So the first one is 4 1/4 by 11 inches, so it's a half sheet of 8 1/2 by 11. And I'm scoring it, so I've already done the score lines, but I'll give you the dimensions. So I scored it 4 1/4, 8 1/2, and 9 3/4. Again, I will put these in the video description later, so you have it one-stop shop. You'll have the measurements and the video all in one place, okay? So that's our base. So to start, we're gonna start with the 2 narrower pieces at the bottom, and we're gonna fold a mountain, nope, I lied, a valley on the higher one, and then a mountain. Okay, and I'll show you what I mean by mountain and valley in a second. When I hold this up, there is a valley, there's a mountain. Okay, this other score line that's sort of in the middle section, I'm going to make a mountain as well. Okay, so when I hold it up again, I have a mountain, a valley, and a mountain. Okay, it looks like a funky M. So that is sort of the base part. And then for this piece that adheres, this one is 7 1/2 inches. 7.5 by 2.5, and it's scored at 5.5 inches. Okay, so I'm just going to fold along that score line so I can show you sort of how it's going to come together. So what will happen is this piece is going to get glued to this little flap in the front, and then this piece is going to get glued to the back, and that will give us our faux step. Okay, but before we do that, we need to do a little bit of decorating. So for our base, I have a couple of pieces of Crumb Cake cardstock that I have embossed using the Leaf Fall embossing folder. Now, I actually, how did I do this? There it is. This was actually a larger piece that I embossed and then cut. So it's kind of a continuous pattern on the embossing. Okay. And we're going to just bring out that beautiful embossing a little bit with a bit of blending. Yeah, Laura, it's much easier than it looks. You really should give it a try. It's not that hard. The first time I did one, I was like, oh, this is a really good beginner fun fold. So for those who kind of don't have a lot of confidence in their measuring or, you know, their ability to cut straight or that sort of thing, it's a really good one for getting started. So I am just adding a little bit of soft suede ink. Soft suede layers beautifully over Crumb Cake. I could be using tone on tone. I could do Crumb Cake as well on the Crumb Cake cardstock, but I would have to add quite a bit of ink to get the sort of darkness that I'm looking for. The soft suede does it quicker. Okay, so I'm just coming on with my blending brush. I'm brushing over that beautiful embossed leaf pattern. And it just makes, see how the embossing pops? Look at the difference. Isn't that amazing what just a little bit of ink will do for that raised, to bring out that raised texture? I just think it's such a cool way to really make your embossed image pop. All right, so let's just add a little bit more here so we're even. A little bit more over here. All right, that looks pretty good. I could add more, but that's good enough for now. Okay, so now we are going to layer these two pieces onto our card base. So this piece is going to go on our background panel. Okay, I should mention this is cut to 4x4, so it's just going to fit in there quite nicely. So we'll go ahead and add a little bit of adhesive. Whoopsie, going too fast. This is what happens when I brush. I rip my embossed cardstock. Somebody should have told me to slow down. Okay, so here we go. We're going to pop this one on to our background. And I love how with the added ink, it just kind of creates a little bit of contrast against our card base. Okay, and then this one is going to go on that little bottom flap there. Part of it's going to get covered, but that's okay. So we're going to add this. Now what I like to do is actually lay this up, fold this up so that I can line up the edges. I just had this thing about having all of the edge pieces lined up. So my edges here line up. Okay, so that's my base. And then we have our sort of pop out piece. Okay, so this is this piece here. So we're going to decorate this one a little bit as well. So I have here a piece of Gingham Cottage DSP. So this is part of the suite that the Cottage Wreaths bundle is featured in the catalog. It's got awesome gingham patterns. There's a smaller one on one side and a bolder one on the other. So this one is cut to 2 1/4 by 5 1/4. Is it? Yes, 2 1/4 by 5 1/4. Okay, and then I have a piece of pumpkin pie cardstock that is 2 3/8 by 5 3/8. So that is going to layer just like that. So we'll add this. Is Crumb Cake one of your favorite colors, Betty? I love the Crumb Cake. It's a great neutral. I use it all the time. I think that's probably the single cardstock next to Basic White that I use the most in my studio. And then this piece is going to layer onto our pop-out panel here. Okay, so we're going to add some adhesive to that and layer that up. So we'll add that on here, just like that. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and assemble our two pieces together to create our card base. So I'm going to apply some adhesive just along the bottom edge of this long section. Okay, I only want it along the bottom edge because I don't want to stick my card shut. So then you can measure this or just eyeball it, but you're going to want to adhere this to this bottom strip centered. So I'm not going to worry about measuring it, but you want to make sure that bottom edge of this panel lines up with the bottom edge of the base. Okay, so that it stands up straight. So we're just going to stick that down. Okay, then I'm going to take and flip the whole thing over, and I'm going to add just a little bit of adhesive along the top edge of this little flap here, and just making sure that I'm straight. I'm just going to fold that down, and that's it. Like so easy. Okay, so there is our base. Now we're going to add our wreath. Now I've already gone ahead and stamped and die cut this, but I am going to show you how I inked my stamp to get this beautiful shading on my wreath. Okay, so I have a little bit of scrap here and my wreath stamp. So we are going to start by inking our wreath in the crushed curry. Crushed curry gets so much use in my studio in the fall. It barely gets touched all year long, but in the fall, it's like it never goes back on the shelf. It's always getting used. And then I'm going to bring in a little bit of pumpkin pie and my sponge dauber. So I'm just going to ink up my dauber and apply just a little bit of the pumpkin sort of here and there. And I don't want to cover the entire thing because I don't want my wreath to be entirely yellow. I want a little bit of the, or entirely orange. I want some of the yellow to show through. And then we're going to go ahead and stamp. And look at that beautiful shading that you get. Isn't that cool? I love this technique. I use it all the time. Now I'm also going to show you, we're going to stamp the inside panel for our card. So we're going to stamp this little foliage image here. So I have, this is another 4x4 square, and we are going to stamp this little guy a few times across the bottom. So again, we're going to ink with the curry and then bring in just a little bit of the pumpkin and stamp. Okay, now in between inking on your curry, you're going to want to stamp off once just to make sure you don't have too much residual orange that you put into your yellow pad. Okay, so ink, dauber, stamp, stamp off. Okay, so that's kind of the sequence. And once you kind of get into a groove and a rhythm here, it goes pretty quick. It may seem a little tedious to watch, but once you kind of get going, and there's a cat hair on my stamp, of course. So yesterday, I was trying to film a reel to post to my Instagram page, and Stella kept jumping up and interrupting. So I had to do like 5 different takes to be able to get this real shot because Stella was making a nuisance of herself. Anyway, so we had our wreath. We've die cut it. Okay, it is going to go onto the front of our card here. But before we do that, we are going to stamp some berries. So I'm going to bring in my cherry cobbler. Yes, actually, that's a good point, Deb. Thank you for mentioning that. I almost forgot to tell you. Okay, so one thing I want to point out is how to line up your stamps and the dies, because you could be here for hours and hours. So if you look on the case, the stamp case, there's a little arrow here, and it will line up with the die. But I'll show you an easier way to do it. Okay, because to be honest, I didn't realize there were arrows until it was too late. So here's the die that cuts out this wreath. Okay, so here's my little trick. See this little leaf that kind of pops out here? It's sort of rounded. This little sort of nubby on my wreath is what lines up with it. Okay, it took me a little while to figure that out, but once I had it, then I was like, okay, so I could find it right away. Okay, so this rounded little leaf lines up with this little nub, just like that. Okay, so that is my little tip for die cutting this wreath. It'll save you half an hour trying to line it up. I won't tell you how long it took me to figure it out. All right, so we're going to stamp some berries in our cherry cobbler. Ooh, cherry cobbler's looking a little dry there. We'll add a couple more. I may just go over those little guys again just to darken them down. There we go. Okay, easy peasy. Yeah, Deb, I gotta say, once I figured it out, then it was super quick. So you just look for this little guy sort of sticking out here, this little rounded leaf, and that one's easy to line up on the die. Okay, so this is going to go on to the front of our card with a couple of dimensionals. So this time I can use full-size dimensionals because I've got a little bit more real estate to deal with. So we'll add a few of these guys and get rid of our backings. Of course, my nail doesn't work because it's not there. There we go. So we're going to just center that on the front of our little pop-out panel there. Okay. And then I need some twine. I forgot to take a piece of twine. Oh, actually, this is handy because I have it right here. So we're going to cut a piece of this silver threaded twine. I have been using this a ton this season, and I love it. Not because I love this twine, because this twine is actually, I find, too thick to use on cards. It's great for handles on gift bags and for tying gifts and packaging. But I love separating this stuff. So you just kind of pull the end apart a little bit. And it does have that little silver sort of thread running through it. You're not going to waste that because on the next card, I'm going to show you how you use it. Okay. But right now, I'm just going to grab one of the little strands of twine and just pull it out. So you just kind of, it gathers, you just kind of pull it down and pull it out. Okay. There's our twine. And then I'm going to fold it in half and tie a bow. And I love this because it's a little bit fuzzy. It kind of reminds me of binder twine for those of you who grew up on a farm baling hay and straw every summer. It kind of has that same sort of rustic texture as binder twine. So there we go. There is our bow. I'm going to leave my tails fairly long on this. I just like them hanging down my wreath. So I'm going to grab my glue dots and press the knot of my bow into a glue dot. And then we're going to just center our bow on a wreath, just like that. Now I put my bow over some berries, but that's okay. Okay. All right. Now for our sentiment, I have this little bitty banner that I've die cut using the Stylish Shapes dies. And we are going to stamp our grateful sentiment in some soft suede ink. So I'm going to ink that up and attempt to stamp this straight on my very little die cut here. There we go. Okay. And then we're going to decorate this a little bit with some of the die cuts. So these are the same sprig that we used on the inside. And then we have these little bitty sprigs. They're also from the die set. We actually get 4 of those dies. So we're going to decorate a little bit. So we're going to add a little bit of seal to either end of our banner here. And we're going to add one of these little gold die cut branches to each end, and then I'm going to add a little bit more seal, and then we're going to layer these beautiful ombre stamped branches just like that, and it just looks like a swag, right, to give a little bit more oomph to our sentiment. So we'll add a couple of dimensionals to the back of that, and we're going to pop it on. Hi, Laurel, welcome. Hope you had a good day at work. So this I'm going to put on just sort of where that step is. Okay, so just across there, across the bottom. And when we stand it up, we have our beautiful finished card. Now, we're going to add our stamped panel to the inside. Before we do, we're going to add our sentiment. This one says, some people just make life better. And isn't that true? There are some people who just make our lives better. I have several people in my life who are like that. And without them, life just would not be nearly as much fun. So there is our sentiment. So we'll add a little bit of adhesive to that panel. And then this is going to pop inside our card. It still opens, okay? You can still write a greeting in here. So you're not really giving up much by doing this fun fold. But there you go. Easy peasy. You like that one? I hope so. Let me get some of this stuff out of the way. And we're going to bring in our last card. So I figured it was time to start thinking about some Halloween projects. But even if you're not into Halloween, you will like this fun fold. Okay, so stick around. Don't go away. Okay, so our last card is this one. I haven't posted this one yet. It looks pretty straightforward, but it's got a little bit of a wow factor in that it pops up and stands like this. Isn't that fun? It's called a vertical easel card. and I just really love playing with this particular fun fold. It's another pretty easy one. It's got a little bit more involved, but the cutting and scoring is really straightforward. It's just a little extra trick that we need to do. So I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay, so I'm starting with my card base. It's 5.5 by 8.5. I've got a basic black cardstock here, and I've scored it, let me turn it this way, at 2 1/8 and 4 1/4. So essentially this is my basic, you know, midline score for making a standard card base. And then we add one extra score line at 2 1/8. Okay, so there's not really a whole lot extra involved in making the base. So we'll go ahead and fold it. It'll be easier to see once I fold, because I know it's hard to see score lines on dark cardstock on the camera. So we've got one, and then this one we're going to fold in, we're going to make a mountain. Okay, so that's going to stand up like that when the card is standing. Okay, all right, so there's that. And then we are going to decorate this panel. So I've got so many little bits in here. I'm going to dump all these out without losing any, or trying not to lose any. So I have lots of cardstock and DSP here. So this is some more of the Gingham Cottage DSP in a pumpkin, okay? And then this is the Black and White Designs DSP. It's got black and basic gray on one side and black and white on the other. And I just love this DSP. And then for Halloween, it's always fun to bring in a little purple. So this is some gorgeous grape. So these panels are actually going to decorate the front of our card here. So these ones are cut to 2 inches by 5 3/8. And then our designer paper is 1 7/8 by 5 1/4. Okay, so those are going to layer on there quite nicely. I'm going to use a little bit of liquid glue here. So we're going to add the liquid glue and pop these on. Okay, so there's 1 and 2 panels. These are both the same size. That's okay, Peggy. I'm glad you made it. Welcome. There we go. Okay, and then this piece for the inside is going to be our catch to hold our easel. This one is cut to 1.5 by 5 3/8, and this one is 1 3/8 by 5 1/4. Okay, again, I will put those measurements into the video description so that if you want to give this card a try, even with different DSP and a different stamp set, it's a really fun, easy, fun fold that's got a real wow. All right, so there we go. So there's our DSP. Now, before we glue these on, this is where the kind of trick comes in so that, to create this little pop out. I'm going to hold this up. Can you see this little extra triangle of black here? So we need to make our little sort of hinge for this to pop out. And it's really not hard. It's just an extra step. So I have, let me find them, 2 squares. These are cut to 2 inches square. Okay, you could do a little bit bigger. You could do a little bit smaller. It doesn't really matter. Whatever you do, it's got to be smaller than whatever you're doing on your front. Okay, if you decide to do a circle on the front, then you could do 2 circles. Okay, but you want it to be the same shape and a little bit smaller than whatever this focal image is. Okay, so then I'm going to fold these squares in half. You could score it, but you don't really have to. It doesn't need to be perfect and it doesn't need to be pretty. So I'm just going to fold them in half on the diagonal. We're not actually going to see these little squares on our card, but they are an important component because they are what allow the pop out to hinge the way it does. Okay, so we've got our 2 little triangles, our little mouths. And what's going to happen is we need to glue these on to our panels because when we glue this onto the card, they're going to go on like this. Okay, so I'm going to kind of get these placed. Now I'm going to glue one and then I'm going to line the other one up so that they're even. Okay, so I've got my one. I'm going to just add a little liquid glue to the back side. Notice this is the side that doesn't have the DSP, and I'm going to fold that over and stick it down. Okay, so this piece is still loose. I'm not gluing that, just the one on the back side. Okay, now I'm going to bring in this second panel and I'm going to line it up on my grid paper just to make sure everything is straight. And I want to make sure that these triangles line up to form a diamond. Okay, you don't want one triangle to be up here and one down, okay, because that won't work. It's going to show behind your focal image. So once I've got those lined up, they don't have to be perfect, but you want them close. Okay, then I'm going to flip this second one over, add a little glue. and fold that one down. Okay, and then again, when I go to line these up, they are just right. Now I might actually flip this around because I feel like it's not quite centered, and if it's going to be off center, I want it to be a little bit more towards the top. Now, if you want, you can just take your bone folder and run it along that just to make sure they're nice and flat. Okay, now we're ready to go ahead and glue these onto our base. So again, we want it to form a diamond once we glue it on. Okay, so we're going to add our adhesive. And we're going to add one on one section of our front panel here. Just like that. Okay. And then we're going to add the second one here. So again, we'll add a little bit of adhesive. And we're going to line this guy up. Okay, and I'm just paying attention to my purple piece to make sure that the edges line up. So there is my little hinge piece. So when I open my card and add my focal image, that's going to hinge like that. Okay, not a hard thing, but just an extra little step. Okay, now for the inside, we have to create our catch for our easel to catch on. So that's what this piece is going to be. Okay, now we're going to stamp on this up first. I'm going to stamp the little spider image. So I'm going to bring in some black ink and my little spider stamp, and I'm just going to have this kind of sitting here just to get an idea of where it's going to go, so I know how much of the white I'm going to see, because I don't want my spiders to be completely covered by my little catch piece when I stick it down. So we're going to add just a couple little spiders. Sorry if we have any arachnophobes in the crowd. All right, so then this piece is going to get stuck inside our card, and then we're going to add this. We're going to add our white piece first. So add a little glue, and this is going to get glued. We're going to have just a narrow border all the way around. Okay, and then this we need to pop up, because for it to catch, it has to actually be raised to catch the edge of our card front. So let's add a couple of dimensionals here. That's probably good. And get rid of our backing. Come on. Oh, not having fingernails is such a handicap. And then we want to line up the top and the outer edge of our purple piece with the top and outer edge of the white. So I'm just going to take my time and try to line this up as best I can while not looking directly down over it. That should be okay. All right, so then when that stands up, that's going to catch, theoretically. I didn't really burnish this enough. There we go. And that will catch on our... It will catch, trust me. There we go. It'll catch on our easel. Okay, so now we need to work on our focal image. So I have another piece of that fabulous Gingham Cottage DSP. I cut it on the diagonal. So the DSP actually pattern goes this way, right? It's up and down. But I wanted my square to be a diamond shape. So I wanted it to kind of mirror what was going on here. So I cut it on the diagonal. All right, so we have another wreath. So this is the other wreath stamp from the stamp set. And I stamped and heat embossed it in white on black cardstock, and then die cut it. Okay, and I love how it looks kind of like a skeleton wreath. Now, I also have a whole bunch of itty bitty die cut pieces. Now, I don't know about you, but I hate like fussing with glue dots and little teeny tiny die cuts. So I'm going to show you a little hack. Because I don't have the patience to deal with a whole bunch of little bits and glue dots. So let me show you a trick. I'm going to bring in my roll of glue dots, and we are going to stick all of these down onto our roll of glue dots. This is a Patty Bennett hack. If anybody watches Patty Bennett's videos, Patty is a good friend, and I love this trick of hers, and I use it all the time. And every time I use it, I think of her. So I'm basically just taking each one of these little bitty die cuts and I'm sticking them right onto my glue dot roll. Okay, and that is going to make it so much easier to deal with them, because I'm not wrestling with my backing and I'm not trying to get my pieces to stick. So I'm just sticking all these little guys down. And, whoops, that one stuck to my finger. Not yet, little leaf. Okay, so we've got that. I'm going to trim this off. So now we have a strip of embellishments that we then can use our take your pick to position. So I'm just going to take my wreath, and if you look on here, I did all my orange solid leaves on one side and my purple on the other, and then added the detailed leaf in the opposite color. Okay, so we're going to build our purple side first. So I'm just going to take my take your pick and add all my little die cut leaves here. Okay, this is such an easy way to do this, I tell you. And then we're going to add our little silver leaf here and our orange detailed one right there. Okay, and then we're going to take our orange ones for the other side. So we'll start kind of here and add, oops, don't stick to my grid paper. There we go. We're going to add this guy here and one more up here. And then we'll add our silver one. I may need to add another silver. We'll see. And then we're going to add our purple detailed one. Okay, so now we kind of have our little arrangement without having to fuss and futz. Yeah, I am going to add these extra silver guys. I'm going to add them just here. So 1 and 2. There we go. Okay. Then we're going to add our bow. So do you remember that silver twine or silver threaded twine? And I remember how I said, don't get rid of that little tinsely piece. This is why once you've used up all the twine, you have this sort of spider webby looking, it's like silver thread, and it looks amazing tied into a bow for our Halloween card. You like that? So we're going to just add a glue dot to this. Actually, this might actually stick because there's enough glue on there. We're going to stick that in place. And then we're going to bring in our little sentiment. So this again is heat embossed in black, or sorry, heat embossed in white on black. So I'm just going to cut out my little boo here. And then that is going to go on with a couple of mini dimensionals. Now I am going to use my black ones. Don't use them very often, but this is the perfect time because I'm using black cardstock. So we'll use our black mini dimensionals. Get rid of our backings. And then that is going to kind of get centered over the knot on our bow like that. Isn't that cute? Now we're going to clean up the ends of our bow here. I left them a little long. So we'll just give them a bit of a haircut. And then that is going to get popped up onto our DSP piece. And once again, I'm going to use a couple of black mini dimensionals because I can. So we'll just add a couple of these guys here and there. One there, and we'll get rid of our backings. There we go. I think I better add one more down there just because there's a rogue glue dot there. All right, so we're going to pop that on, just centered on our diamond there. Isn't that cute? And then that is going to get layered onto another piece of gorgeous grape. So this is die cut using the largest square from the Stylish Shapes dies. And then this is a 2 7/8 square to layer behind it. Okay. So we'll add a little bit of adhesive here. And we're going to pop that on. So there we go. Yeah, you know what, Peggy? I'm not a big Halloween person either. We don't really do Halloween in this house. But there's so many cute Halloween products. I had to showcase some of them. So now we're going to adhere our diamond here to the front of our cards. We're going to put glue on our little flaps here. So I'm just going to add, I like to use liquid glue for this step just so that I can wiggle it into place if I need to. And then we're going to center this. So I'm just centering the top and bottom points on my little diamond with the fold in the center of my card base here. I'm going to move this up just a smidge. There we go. Give that a second to set. And there we go. There's our cute and fun Halloween card. Isn't that a great fold? It looks a lot more complicated than it is. It is a little bit of a step up from the other fun fold I showed you, but it's not horrible. So if you are, gaining some confidence with your fun folds, it's a good one to try. So let me just bring them all back here. So we have 1, 2, and 3. Okay, now I want to show you this other reel. Oh, no, you know what? I put them away. Never mind. You're going to have to check out my reel on Instagram later on this week because I have a really cool trick to show you. A quick, super quick and easy way to make 4 cards in like 5 minutes. Okay, so you're going to want to check that out. It'll post to my Instagram account on Thursday. Okay, everyone, thanks so much for joining me. I hope you have a great week. Don't forget to take advantage of the free shipping offer. It expires at midnight tonight. And do check out the Starter Kit Plus promotion. Okay, thanks, everybody. Have a great week. I will see you next week for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. Bye for now.